Okay, guys, I'm going to be doing a review of Rust. This is a game came out in 2013, fully released in 2018 by Face Punch Studios. Uh, this is a very interesting game. It's taken some things from other games and kind of brought it together and added its own deal. It is a multiplayer open world survival, definitely based around PvP. You can only play multiplayer. There is no single player to date, and it is out on pretty much all platforms, guys. But there hasn't been a recent. I don't see many recent reviews on it, and this game has continued to receive updates even after its full release, which is not something that happens with every game, and it's evolved quite a bit. One example of its evolution is it used to have zombies, and now instead it has like bears and wolves and harder wildlife. Okay, so let's get into the game itself. There are some really cool things about the game. You definitely tell it was inspired by Daisy and like almost a twist on like a Conan Exiles, almost to a point. I really like it quite a bit on some of the things it's added in. For example, on the pros or good sides of the game, the graphics are really good. I do like them graphics. I think they are one of the game's cooler standout points for the most part. The crafting is really cool because a lot of games like this have a very limited crafting ability, and it has a more in-depth crafting like from the Conan Exiles or Ark side of things, where you can do quite a bit, including bases, which is really cool. The bases, you can build multiple tiers. You can build huge bases, or you can build little bases, get destroyed really quickly. I really like that. The vehicles are also a cool aspect. A lot of games make vehicles super hard to get, or stuff like that. And this game makes them a little bit more easier to access early on. And another thing I like about it, as much as it's centered around the PvP, the trading aspect that they have, including the vending machines, are really cool. And it also, too, about talking about other survival games. If you've played other games like Ark or Conan, this game is definitely not as grindy starting out, and part of that is because you have resets every month or every week, depending on the server that you're on. It will get reset. So I think they've done a good job balancing the grind. The NPCs, so this is an interesting one. NPCs for me personally, starting out, seem to be pretty well balanced. They're not the worst thing you're looking for, because you're more terrified of other players when you first start. But some of them are really tough, like the ones that are roaming around in vehicles or tanks. They can be pretty tough. And a really interesting thing that I feel like they did a very good job and is very unique to this game is if you are unarmed and you're not carrying a weapon out, the NPCs generally won't attack you, and that's a really kind of a cool aspect. The night, some other kind of cool pros there. The night is really dark and realistic. Like when you wander around in the night in this game, you don't know what's in front of you. And that can be pretty scary. You don't know if there's a whole clan of people in front of you or not. And another thing that's kind of cool that's related to that is the temperature changes. You can be walking and all of a sudden you're going to get froze in a cold climate, or if you go into a warm area, you only have a limited amount of time. And I think that's really cool because I think other games don't make the temperatures a big priority, and I feel like this game did a pretty good job of trying to include the environment into the game more than others. Now, some cons about the game. I actually really like this, but I know a lot of people aren't. This game is very hard to start out in. It is tough. I mean, the first hour and a half, I basically walked around and got murdered on a higher population server. When I went to a lower server, tier server, it was much better to start out. But that being said, if you're going to a less populated server, also later on, it isn't going to be as much fun because you're going to not run into as many people. But I really like the how hard it is to start out. But I think a lot of people may not like that. Another con to it is there is only multiplayer and no PVE, and I think this game does a good job of incorporating the environment and NPCs, and I think this would be a really good game to have maybe a single player or a PVE function. It would be and it would help you be able to play with the game a little bit before you just jumped into other, online multiplayer, PvP deathmatch kill extreme. The mechanics, there are some bugs, but to be honest though, it's not as bad as a lot of games. And a major downside for me is I'm personally a person that likes long-term goals. There are no permanent servers that kind of keep your progress. Every server gets a reset on a time frame. So a lot of them are a month or a week, for example. And another downside to the game are when there's a lot of people on the servers, the maps are almost way too small, and there's no way to get started or stay alive when you're playing this game. But overall, not a bad game. If I were to give it the old out of 10, I would probably give it a 7. And it would be higher, but the inability to have a long-term goal in this game or like a long-term base that you're trying to go for, or only having multiplayer and PvP really hurt it. Otherwise, it could be a much higher, and the game has a lot of potential. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this review, and hopefully it helps you out determine whether you want it or not. I think if you are one of the people that are around the channel all the time, I think we may give this a go in a Let's Play series. So if you're interested in that, definitely stick around, because that will be coming. At least a test run to see if you guys like it, and we'll go from there. But have a good one, folks. We'll see you next time.